St. Louis. We're reading through the Psalms together in the course of 1 year. This past week, we read Psalms 136, 137, 138. Psalm 136 in particular is just so appropriate for this time of Thanksgiving. It's a psalm that has this beautiful refrain that echoes throughout it, where it says, "For his steadfast love endures forever." The steadfast love of the Lord endures forever. It's written in such a way that scholars believe that this was used in worship, and it was done in a liturgical setting where the leader, soloist perhaps, would lead that first part of the verse, talk about that specific act of the Lord, and then the congregation would respond together. His steadfast love endures forever. That seems to make sense, especially in a time when many couldn't read, maybe were illiterate, yet they could learn that refrain. And what a beautiful and assuring refrain it is, for his steadfast love endures forever. And so the first part of the psalm talks about God and his greatness and his goodness. Then the next part talks about creation and all that God has made and how that's a reflection of God's steadfast love. But then it talks about God's work in the history of Israel, in the history of his people, the deliverance out of slavery in Egypt, and crossing over the Red Sea on dry land, going into the promised land, and the Lord giving them victory after victory, and that refrain throughout, for his steadfast love endures forever. It's a beautiful psalm for us today, too. This recognition that throughout all of history, God's steadfast love endures forever. And we could extend this psalm. We could extend the psalm to include everything that Jesus has done for us. His birth, his life, his death, his resurrection. And we could intersperse within that story, for his steadfast love endures forever. We see God's great love for us again and again and again and again. But another beautiful aspect of this psalm isn't just that his steadfast love endures forever for the whole world, which it does, but also his steadfast love endures for me. That each one of us could say, for his steadfast love endures forever. And we could recount our lives. The good times, certainly, and the many blessings, the things we give thanks for, but even the challenges and the tough times in our life, too. We can look back and still say, yep, even there, God's steadfast love endures. It endures each day, each moment, sustaining us, strengthening us, encouraging us, but yet his steadfast love endures forever. For all eternity, when one day we're with him, we will see the one who has steadfastly loved us throughout our life and will continue to throughout all eternity. May your Thanksgiving celebration, even over this weekend, be even happier and more rich and joyful and thankful, knowing the steadfast love of the Lord for his whole creation, but his steadfast love for you. God bless your continued reading of his word.